Hello, everyone, to the good people of internet, and this is Brother Benson, and I'm lucky this evening to be joined with one of the young leaders who are in higher learning institution, and is also a leader who, at one point, will be vying for a political seat in this country. Let me take this opportunity to welcome him, and he can say a word of hello to our viewers. Hey, Mr. Tony, how are you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you, Ben. How are you?
I'm okay. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since you went, but you didn't even tell me you are coming to send off Baba.
Sometimes unajua hiyo inakuwaga ni ile ya haraka haraka.
I understand.
Lakini uko aje?
Mi niko fiti.
Yeah.
Apart from hiyo kifo ya baba yenye ilitudestabilize kama mwema wa siha.
Eh. Hebu jaribu
Unanipata?
nakupata kidogo, lakini kama nilikuwa nimekupoteza kiasi. Nasikia ni kama kuna sijui ni mic, sijui ni nini inafanyika.
Ati?
Nakupata sasa. Uko vyema?
Ni kama nimekupoteza ama umenipoteza?
Nakusikia sasa vizuri. Nadhani pia unanipata wewe pia.
Kabisa.
Hapo awali, kabla bado tujakuwa na changamoto kidogo, ulikuwa umezungumzia kifo cha baba. Unasema ilikuwa imefanya nini?
Nasema kwamba kifo cha baba kilikuwa kimetuhuzunisha kidogo na tumekuwa destabilized kwa lugha nyingine, lakini apart from hiyo tunashukuru Mungu kwamba we are coping on well. Na bado ile 7 days ya mourning haikutoshea. Kwa hiyo kuna wenye ambao bado tunaendelea kumuona.
Naelewa na labda tu kabla tujaingia kwa mada ya leo, tuseme kwamba kifo cha baba, ukiangalia tu kisiasa, unaona kwamba kutakuwa na mabadiliko gani ama kuko na mabadiliko gani katika siasa zetu za Kenya?
Kwanza kabisa kifo cha baba kitakuwa na so many effects, but of course already tumeanza kuona matokeo hayo. Tunaona kwamba kuna yale by elections ambazo zinafanyika wakati huu, na kwa mfano zile by elections za Kasipul, ambapo tunaona kwamba wale opponents ambao pengine wangekuwa katika kinyang'anyiro ambao walitolewa kwa nominations za ODM wanatokea strongly kujoin candidate ambaye hayuko on the ODM ticket ambaye ni Aroko. So unaona mtu kama ni Ruto ambaye alitolewa kwa zile by party primaries, unaona kwamba watu wanajitokezea, people are coming out strongly as opposed to when baba was still alive, sababu sahii hakuna ule uoga. Unaona kitambo watu walikuwa nasema out of the respect that we have for baba, wacha nifanye hivi na hivi na hivi, lakini wakati huu tunaona kwamba people can still come out strongly na waseme kwamba ndio huyo ni candidate wenu, lakini sisi pia tuko na huyu mwingine. But over and beyond pia tunaona kuna wale ambao wamebaki orphans. Kuna political orphans wengi sana ambao wamebaki, ni tu a matter of time before uone kwamba wanapelekwa nyumbani.
Okay, asante sana. Unajua, labda sijui kama utakubaliana na mimi ama utakubaliana na mimi. Watu ambao wamekuwa katika siasa kwa muda mrefu wanasema kuna wengi wa viongozi ambao labda walikuwa natoka eneo la Nyanza ama tuseme si eneo la Nyanza, lakini tuseme kwamba Kenya nzima, ambao labda ni watu ambao walitengenezwa, kisiasa zao zilikuwa zimetengenezwa na baba, na unapata kwamba hata hizo nyadhifa ama hizo tuseme kwamba uchaguzi ambao walikuwa wanashinda katika ile mavuli yake ya baba, na kwa sababu sasa baba hayupo, itakuwa ni vigumu sana hao labda saa zingine kuwania hizo viti, ama wakiwania itakuwa sasa ni vigumu hao kushinda. Unaweza kubaliana na watu ambao wanasema hivyo?
Ben, bila shaka ni ukweli kwamba kuna watu wengi ambao walikuwa wakishinda viti vyao kutokana na ile hali ya ule uhusiano wao na the right honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. bali kwa sasa tunaona kwamba the absence yake itawacost sana watu kama hao. Na unavyosema tayari tumeona wanasiasa hao wengi wakiwa wanakuja na kuanza wengi wao wanaanza kutetea sana serikali hii ya broad based, kwa kuwa kuna wengi wao ambao walipata nafasi tofauti tofauti katika serikali hii. So ukiona wale wanasiasa kwa mfano kina Mbadi, kina Wandai ambao wanasema kwamba baba aliwaacha katika broad based government, ni ile tu kujaribu kutetea nafasi zao, kwa kuwa wanajua kwamba ile ukosefu wa baba katika ulingo wa siasa inaweka katika mahali ambapo yani hawako safe, unaona. So unapata, na si wao peke yao, kuna watu ambao walikuwa ni wabunge, kuna watu ambao walikuwa ni magavana ambao wakati huu sasa wamebakia ni mayatima. Ukiangalia governors ambao pengine walikuwa wamestruggle sana katika uchaguzi wao, mtu kama governor Gladys na hata mtu kama governor Orengo, ni watu ambao kukosekana kwa baba inaenda kuwa cost sana siasa ambazo zinakuja za 2027. Ukielekea upande wa wabunge, watu kama kina Junet, ukielekea pia sehemu zingine za Homa Bay na tu generally Nyanza tu hapa, na achana na hata gavana wa Nairobi hapa ambaye ni Sakaja, mara nyingi amesaidiwa sana. MCAs wakiwa wanataka kumpiga kalamu ni baba na Ruto ambao walikuwa nakuja katika rescue. Kwa hiyo nakubaliana nawe kwamba ile kukosekana kwa baba katika ulingo wa siasa kunaenda kunaenda kuhatarisha sana political lifeline ya viongozi wengi sana.
Asante sana. Na vile tunaangalia kule Mombasa, ODM wanaadhimisha miaka yao tuseme kwamba 20 ambao wamekuwa katika siasa, na wanaadhimisha wakati ambapo tuseme kwamba yule ambaye alikuwa ni mwanzilishi ama yule ambaye alikuwa ni nguzo mkubwa sana katika chama hicho hayupo. Tunamzungumzia Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga ambaye tangu azikwe haijamaliza hata miezi moja. Lakini labda unadhani wakati wanaadhimisha miaka 20 cha chama cha ODM, kuna jambo labda ambao wanasiasa ama wale vigogo wa ODM ambao wapo wanafaa wajifunze na watoke, kwamba wakuje walete chama ikuwe kama kitu kimoja, waanze kuzungumza kwa lugha moja, ama bado itakuwa ni ile kila mtu anazungumza yake? Ama wewe unaona itakuwa vipi? Watapata nafasi ya kujiuliza maswali, hata kujifunza kutokea hapo?
Ben, kwa kweli leo nayo utakuwa umeniumiza sana tunapotumia lugha hii ya Kiswahili, lakini nitajaribu.
Okay. Unaweza zungumza na lugha yote baba.
Nitajaribu kukanganya kidogo kwa kuwa mimi si mtaalamu.
Asante sana, usijali.
So jinsi ulivyosema, tunaona kwamba ODM watakuwa wanaadhimisha miaka 20 tangu kuform, kwa hiyo kutengenezwa kwa chama hicho, na tunavyoangalia kimekuwa ni chama ambacho ni kikubwa sana, sio tu katika nchi letu la Kenya, bali katika bara nzima la Afrika, na ni chama ambayo baba alikuwa ameweka a lot of effort kwa kuibuild, na kuna wale ambao walikuwa wanaitwa kama founder members, the likes of kina Nyong'o, kina governor Orengo, na kimesaidia sana katika historia la taifa hili. Ukiangalia sana katika ile ukombozi wa nchi kutoka kukua kwa chama kimoja mpaka mahali hapa ambapo leo tuko na chama zaidi ya 80. Lakini kifo cha baba kimekuwa ni pigo kubwa sana, na unavyosema tayari tumeanza kuona hivyo mipasuko katika chama yenyewe. Ukiangalia kuna watu ambao walikuwa wakitazamia kwamba pengine ni Orengo ambaye atapatiwa ile usukani, achukue usukani wa chama. Kuna watu ambao pengine wamekuwa wakiangalia kwamba Babu Owino pengine anafaa apatiwe nafasi ile, lakini tunaona kwamba kiongozi Oburu Odinga tangu kupatiwa wadhifa ule wa kuwa the party leader amejaribu sana. Tunaona kwamba amejaribu pia reach out kwa wale wanachama ambao pengine walikuwa wanaonekana ni kama wamekinzana kisiasa, kina Babu, kina Sifuna, na natarajia ama tunadhania kwamba ni tu zile mbinu ambazo pengine Oburu anajaribu kuzitumia ili kuleta chama pamoja. So kwa hivyo tayari kumekuwa ni mipasuko, na tunavyoendelea na kujitayarisha kwa siasa za 2027 kunaweza kuwa na mipasuko zaidi, especially kwa sababu wale wanachama ambao wamekuwa ni wenye umri mdogo, kina Caleb Amisi pale, kina Sifuna wanaonelea ni kwamba yani wamenyimwa nafasi za uongozi. Mtu kama Babu pengine ameona yeye alikuwa anataka kuwa gavana, lakini anaona ni kwamba chama cha ODM tayari kilikuwa kimeanza kulalia ule upande wa Sakaja. Kwa hiyo kuna hiyo mipasuko ndio, lakini itakuwa ni a very big test kwa chama cha ODM, japo
Ehe.
watafaulu kuziba nyufa hizi ambazo zinaonekana, bali pia pia naweza sema kwamba ile kifo cha baba tayari kimeongeza ODM nguvu in some way.
Mm.
Ukiangalia kwa saizi
Mm.
kila mtu anajaribu sana kuhakikisha kwamba chama akijasambaratika. Sababu gani? Ni ile katika harakati za kujaribu kumpatia baba Raila Amolo Odinga kile heshima mahali popote alipo, aone kwamba at least wale aliowaacha nyuma wanajaribu
Mm.
kuleta chama pamoja, ila hatujui ni kwamba ni kwa muda upi ambao huu utaendelea. Kwa hivyo kwa opinion yangu mimi naona ODM
Mm.
yaweza kusurvive 2027,
Mm.
bali beyond 2027 yaweza kuwa ngumu sana.
Okay, sawa. Labda tu ya mwisho tu, alafu tutarejea tu mazungumzo yetu. Kwa sasa kitu ambacho lazima tukubaliane na wewe, labda naweza kuwa nakosea ama naweza kuwa kwa maonekano yangu ni kwamba labda haiwezi kuwa ni kitu ambacho labda kipo. Tukubaliane na wewe kwamba kwa saizi hakuna, labda tuwezi sema kwamba mtu ambaye ODM wanaweza toa ama wanaweza amia kwamba wewe utakuwa utagombea urais kulingana na vile tulikuwa tunajua zile nguvu ambazo baba alikuwa nazo. Sana sana alikuwa na watu ambao wengi, na ukipata wakati ambao alikuwa anagombea unapata kwamba hakupata bahati, ama kama alipata, kuna yale mambo yao lilifanyika alikumpatia ile nafasi ya kukua rais katika nchi yetu. Jambo lipo ni kwamba sidhani kama kutakuwepo na mtu labda hapo, labda tu kama unaweza tu shauri tu wana wa ODM wanaweza simamisha mtu agombee rais, ama itabidi waangalie venye wataingia katika maungano ambao sisi tunaona wakati watu wanaelekea katika uchaguzi.
Kulingana na mimi jinsi ninavyoona, kwanza Ben,
Yeah.
ODM ni chama kubwa ndio, lakini kwa wakati huu hakuna yule mtu ambaye pengine unaweza sema jinsi tu ulivyo, hakuna mtu ambaye ungesema pengine anaweza chukua ile nafasi ya Raila Amolo Odinga. Kwa hivyo sasa hivi kama chama cha ODM, the best ambayo wanaweza chukua ni deputy president, jinsi tu ambavyo Oburu alikuwa amesema. So katika cheo hiyo cha deputy president, angalau utaona kuna Gladys Wanga pale, kuna John Mbadi pale, kuna Sifuna pale. So hapo at least wapatia options nyingi, lakini mtu ambaye pengine angeendea ama angewania kiti cha urais kwa sasa hivi sioni.
Okay, thank you so much, Tony, for also trying very much to converse with us in Kiswahili, even though you said that Kiswahili chi lugha chako. Today we want to discuss about the leadership of young people, especially in this country. And as we know, right now, the political campaigns are already started. We've seen the united opposition are trying their level best, as well as the president also is trying his level best to sell himself together with the projects or the policies that his administration wants to do or he's doing. But one question is left: the young people of this country, in the leadership or in the political processes of this country, do you feel, as somebody also who is a leader in Onagi Comrade, do you feel that the young people are in the leadership of this country, or are being listened to, or their voices are being heard and given a chance to participate or to give views on matters of governance?
Oh yes, so thank you so much, Ben, for having me today. Just to introduce myself again, my name is Tony Blair Onyango, and I'm joining you live here today from Nairobi City. A bit chilly, but we are managing. I'm joining you from the Technical University of Kenya. So right behind me, hapo unaweza ona, that is we are in the lecture theater.
Yeah.
And I'm the founder and the chairperson of Onagi Comrades Alliance. Also a young leader in the space of leadership and governance, and I've been a student leader before here at TUK, and also I contested in 2022 as a member of County Assembly for Landimawe Ward, that is within the same constituency, Stare constituency. Now, on to your question, young people are not being listened to in regards to the capacity or in regards to the expectation that we have. What we are seeing currently is what we call tokenism, where even if you are invited somewhere, you will be invited, but just for the sake of taking pictures and for the sake of proving to the audience or to the public that you are part of that meeting. When you look at key decision-making functions, when you look at key stakeholder engagements, young people are generally excluded. And that is part of the reason why we saw the Gen Z protests last year, where we saw the young people come in large numbers and take to the streets. And this also set a precedent for other countries. We saw in the likes of Madagascar right now. We saw even in Bangladesh, people who are able to go even steps beyond. Why people go to the streets? Young people go to the streets because they feel that they are neglected, they feel excluded, there are soaring levels of unemployment, yet we are also seeing that there's indiscriminately scarce opportunities in terms of empowerment. When you come to Kenya, for example, right now, a majority of the seats occupied, even the member of county assembly seats that were envisioned maybe to be for the young people, a
Yeah.
majority are still occupied by the older generation. So whereas we appreciate that strides have been made and at least you are seeing a bit of absorption of the young people into critical positions, we are not there. And this is actually a warning to the government of the day. You even saw in Tanzania the other day when they were conducting elections and there were people on the street. Imagine people on the streets on the election day, and even in Uganda, we are also seeing quite similar instances. So I think it's a warning to the ruling class that they really need to do something.
Okay. Now, you've talked about the young people being on the street, and for the records, and I want to bring you back to June 2020, the June 25th that we had the Gen Z protest, and there are some of the issues that Gen Z were raising. And if you look at them, these issues tend to be universal across Africa, including the recent one in Tanzania. But you find that if the Gen Z are raising these issues, or if the young people are raising these issues that they need to be listened to, the backlash or the force that they are getting even from the government and the leaders is quite much very harsh. You know, for instance, you saw what happened in Tanzania. And from today, we still know that there are quite a number of young people who are still missing. And there's the rumors that the dead bodies were taken into undisclosed location. That those are rumors that are there. And you also saw that with the Gen Z. When they came, some of them died, some of them were abducted, and it's happening all over Africa. So that's the reason why I was asking you about the voice. If they feel that there's something that is wrong, why is the repercussion is so heavy on them? Why do you think so?
Ben, I mentioned that we are young people, and as Gen Zs, the manner in which you do certain things is quite different from the way the older generation does these things, you see. So there is that kind of mismatch. So when we try to raise this issue, sometimes it may be perceived as being disobedient, being rude, and stuff. So why there is this backlash is because, as I said earlier on, the resources are indiscriminately scarce. It is because the people who are there do not know how to make meaningful use of these resources. Say, for example, the Nyota Fund that has been introduced currently. As Gen Z, we know that we have soaring levels of unemployment. What we would have suggested or maybe proposed is that this money could have been used to create some sort of small contractual positions that could then absorb this. Because when these people do not have meaningful engagement, meaningful sources of livelihood, is when they can go to the streets. So the older generation is trying to suppress the young people because they feel threatened. They feel that these people are coming to take our positions. Yet the young people are saying, tell me why I'm in university, I have access to these student loans, but immediately I finish, I cannot get access to jobs so that then I'm able to pay my student debt. Tell me why in your days you are able to afford 6 girlfriends, but today myself, I can't even afford one girlfriend. It doesn't make sense. So this is why the Gen Zs are demanding that in the past, the help money you people used to receive could even be used to make, in our culture, we have that lion where you build in your father's compound and then later on you upgrade.
Yeah.
Today, that kind of money is too small. By the time it is coming in, I tell you, Ben, you have so many debts that within the first week, the help money is gone. So these are the things that the young people are agitating against. And uh, what we need currently as a generation is economic emancipation. When you look at Kenya in terms of technological advancement and stuff, we are ahead. But in terms of that economic stability, that kind of freedom as a young men are even not marrying nowadays.
Yeah.
Actually, there's general outcry. Somebody mentioned that there's absence of the men in these festivals and stuff. It is because the men do not have the money to go into these festivals. The little money you have is to support yourself and to support your parents. That is what the Gen Zs are asking the older generation to explain to them.
Mm. But now, if you're giving that analogy, then that one underscores what the president says, because as per the president, based on the rundown that he gave on the Al Jazeera, when it comes to employment, because president talked about 4 major pillars, especially that he has done. So, and that is according to maybe to his evaluation, how he evaluated himself and his administration. And you've talked about employment, and president has said that he has fixed the economy. And how has he fixed the economy? And this is where the employment come in. It talks about elaborate infrastructure, especially when it comes to affordable housing, where he says that the number of houses that he has constructed has created almost like 600, I think like 600 jobs. He talks about ICT hub that has created a total of 180,000 jobs. He talks about the bilateral export employment, what the export, especially when it comes to export of labor, where he says that the government has an agreement or have signed agreement with bilateral agreement with some other countries. And this one has also created employment of 430 thousand. Those are the jobs that have been created. But now, if as a youth, you say that maybe the employment that you see now, the economy is not working. So where are we getting it wrong? Does it mean that the way the president views it is not the way the majority of us are viewing it?
Ben, please don't get me wrong when I say that there are initiatives that have been taken by the president, which are really
Mhm.
good and we really appreciate. And whereas we appreciate these steps,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that strides have been made
Okay.
as to what has been done, but we are saying we are not yet there. Actually, I'm a member of the United Democratic Alliance, which is the party, the president is the party leader of the UDA party. That
Mm-hmm.
does not bar me from critiquing or criticizing what has been done. I'm only saying that, Ben, even if I ask you today, that we have got these jobs we are talking about, the affordable housing and stuff. If there's none of my friends I'm seeing that is participating in these jobs, if I'm not seeing any of my colleagues benefiting from Nyota, if I'm still seeing a lot of corruption on the side of the government. So whereas you are trying to employ these many people, whereas you are trying to initiate these so many projects,
Yeah.
what we are saying is there's still a lot of mismanagement on the side of the government.
Mm.
According to a report released by the Auditor General herself, the parliament and that is both the National Assembly and the Senate had used a cumulative sum of 5 billion in terms of travel only. Now tell me, if 5 billion shillings has been used for travel, and that is for travel by the members of the National Assembly and the Senate,
Mhm.
this is money that we are saying as young people could have been put into a better use by the Republic. We are saying that, Mr. President, as you are creating these jobs, we also need to see you crack down on corruption. Because, Ben, even if I didn't have a job and there was no corruption, if I didn't have a job and the cost of life was generally relatively lower, then I would have no problem. But here is the case. You are there, you have graduated, all offices you are applying for, they take your papers, but they never get back to you. So you are continuously wondering who normally gets these jobs. So jobs are being circulated among relatives of the people who are already in public service. These are the same things that the Gen Zs are saying. So point is, the president has initiated very good projects. You even mentioned about subsidizing production rather than subsidizing consumption, where we are having subsidized fertilizer being given to farmers. These are indeed very, very great steps and a step in the right direction. Our point is, a lot can still be done, and even good can become better.
Okay, thank you so much. And talking about subsidizing of the fertilizer that you've given to improve the production level, and when the production is high, and I can remember President talking about how the agriculture has been fixed, whereby a total of 44 bags million were produced last year, and this year we are expecting to do like around 70 million bags, and which means that one will make that the cost of living is going to be high because we have a lot of production, we have like basic needs with us. But what if the taxes are quite much high? How is that one going to affect the cost of the living?
Very good question, Ben, and this is one of the challenges affecting this government.
Yeah.
This government has failed to do what we call broadening of the tax base. So when you look at 2023, 2024 financial year, there was an aggressive revenue mobilization without an aggregate increase in the GDP. What does this mean? That there was a lot of pressure exerted on the same sources of taxes. When you look at the informal sector, for example, Ben, we have a driver that earns 2,000 shillings per day.
Yeah.
This guy does not pay, unlike the civil servants that get that deduction of pay of about 30%. So this government really needs to come up with creative ways in which can take advantage of the informal sector, not just the transport sector alone. We
Yeah.
have got a lot of these small scale traders. So you put into consideration the tax profitability margin, but also you put a way in which these people could also be able to pay. What does it give in return? You are able to broaden the tax base, and we have a very high, we do not have like a very huge population relying on a small population of taxpayers, because according to the Kenya Bureau of Statistics, we have only about 4 million people who are employed in this country. So you can imagine 50.5 million Kenyans depending on over 4 million people who are employed formally. Now that is in terms of formal employment. Now imagine if you had a broadened tax base of about 20 million shillings, of about 20 million Kenyans. It means then that these people here at the top would be able to be cautioned so that we don't have a lot of dependency or reliance on them. So I think that something needs to be done in that
In
regard.
terms of
Yeah. In
no,
terms
all right.
of and I think that is part of what the experts in government, the likes of Akinambadi, should be pursuing.
The experts, okay, the ones that joined, okay, we are still waiting because like it's not bad to join the government, and it's not, that is something that I always believe, because if you join the government and you can, there's what we call deliverables, that they're being delivered to the people. There's nothing wrong with that. But if ever since you enjoy being an expert, but sometimes we are not experiencing any change or effect, it doesn't
Exactly.
it doesn't kind of like make sense, especially for the people, because like it's all about delivery. As somebody who is in this field, and somebody who also vied, there's quite a number of barriers, especially on the roadblocks, that preventing youths from getting into the leadership. And we spoke about earlier about the equal force, especially from the relevant authorities, or even from the youth themselves, calling
Yeah.
you people names and insulting you, or you do not have that divergence of view, like the way
Yeah.
you've said that you're a member of UDA. You will find that when maybe your counterparts in other political party will call you a betrayer. These are how you as youths who are planning to go into this leadership are navigating all these roadblocks, to see that you have a vision and a common goal, that is to bring new leadership to the country.
Thank you so much. When you mentioned that question, it reminds me of 2 weeks ago when I was at Citizen TV on Daybreak, and it was part of the questions you were asked by Trevor. And really, what you are doing, even for using this podcast, for example, is actually so timely and very good, because what it does is that it gives me a platform, and not just myself, other young people. I've also seen them come to your space and maybe give out their views and also tell their ideas. So part of the challenges would be Kenyans are very impatient in general. And you saw what happened with Kashmir the other time.
Yeah.
Because when you rise to fame as an activist, then any bit of inconsistency within your attitude or character then makes you look like a betrayer. The other thing, so that kind of impatience from Kenyans generally means then that you have to be very cautious as to how you conduct your things. The other thing is, in terms of resources, election campaign is a very expensive exercise. And if I can recall, when I was contesting in 2022 alone, you need money for travel, logistics here and there. You need posters, you need airtime, you need security, you need these resources are things that can only be gotten by people who have accumulated a huge amount of wealth. The other thing are cultural barriers, for example. When you look at, and this is especially for people contesting now or pursuing leadership positions in the villages or in the remote areas, there are people
Yeah.
who would ask you, for example, Ben, where is your wife? Where is your house? There are people
Yeah.
who will not vote for you simply because you belong to I don't know which clan, or maybe your forefathers practiced witchcraft, and for that reason now they cannot elect you. There are people who will ask you, how do you want to contest? I have a friend from Northeastern, it's called Bini. Binyamin Salat, he was telling me when he wanted to contest, they asked him, how do you want to contest when you have not even led in your family? You don't even have a wife, you don't have a child, for example.
Mm.
Now,
Mm.
in our culture, the Luo community, for example, it does not suffice to have one wife. They may even ask you, where are the other wives? You see? So that is part of the reason why I also moved to Nairobi.
Hujajenga boma, bado uko kwa nyumba ya babako. Uko boma ya babako.
Uko nyumba ya babako na unataka kubai. How? So you see,
Mm.
these are amongst the barriers that then hinder young people from pursuing leadership positions, and
Mm.
it is more difficult now for the ladies, because in the ladies now they suffer what we call identity crisis. A young lady would be told, for example, wewe enda uko kwa category ya youths. When she goes to the young people, she's also told, no, you go to the women's side. Do you see? So that is
Yeah.
what we call identity crisis, and it therefore takes a thick skin to
Mm.
participate in the murky waters of Kenyan politics.
But do you think there will be a reason that the young people, especially including the Gen Z and everybody that falls within that category of youth, that will have a voice of reason, despite their political affiliation, that we as youth, we come under one banner, that is youth, and we want to change the leadership of this country, where we are not going to look at which party are you vying with or which part of the country you're coming with, but like under one banner that we have a voice of reason and we change this leadership. Do you think that one is going to happen within the youths?
I don't think there's nothing. The more things change, the more they remain the same. The same young people saying that, I don't know, we are tribeless, we are, no, the only less they are is they are jobless. They
Mm.
are also, because all politics is local. At the end
Yep.
of the day, every young person is going to go back to his village. And it is from that village where they're going to gauge the temperature, the political temperature of the country.
Mm.
Most parents are going to influence the manner in which the Gen Zs are going to vote. Because
Mm-hmm.
then, if we are to see a miracle in 2027, then already we would be seeing signs from the voter registration that is ongoing. What are we
Yeah.
seeing? IBC announced last week
Apathy.
that only about 90,000
Mm-hmm.
have registered since the 29th of September. Now tell me, how are these Gen Zs going to influence the politics of 2027 without registering as voters? So you are actually seeing that the more things are changing, the more they are remaining the same. And I've seen the discussions of the young people on X. When I
Yep.
defend Lamolo Dinga, oh, I'm a tribal, I'm Luo, I'm uncircumcised and stuff. You even saw it with Kasmuel. But for
Yes.
them, we even saw the other time when now Governor Kaiga was saying that they were celebrating and mocking Raila in death. When we tried to castigate him, they said we are tribal and stuff. So the same, and I think it is this, the politicians are very wise.
Mm.
They have managed to put us into that space where the only thing we are seeing is your tribe and my tribe. You see,
Okay.
and they have tried to weaponize it in such a way that I will defend my position as a Luo because of the two experts we have in government. Yet the Kikuyu, though the people from Mount Kenya have the 8 cabinet secretaries in government. So
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it is the citizen who is the fool.
So which means we can attribute that to what we call would I call it voter illiteracy, whereby we are not made to think of ourselves and look at things critically, but we are made to think on the way the politician make us to think.
I think we have very short memory, Ben. Kenyans have very, very short memory. And I don't blame them, because there's just a way in which the media of today bombards you with a lot of information. Today we are talking about Gideon Moi. Tomorrow we are talking about the president's visit. So when you look at mainstream media, there's a manner in which they want to shape the narrative in a particular direction. So you find that within 2 seconds you are thinking about William Ruto. The next minute you are thinking about Rigathi Gachagua. So it has been reduced to a personality contest, and that is why Kenyans are finding it very, very difficult then to play politics of ideologies, because every now and again, when you look at Citizen TV, you are only going to see President Ruto's visit in Makueni or maybe in Kitui. When you change the station, you are going to see Rigathi Gachagua in some church service. So it has been reduced to a few personalities within the same, and these are people who have been in government since the 1980s. You see, so Kenyans have run out of options, and not unless we have new political entrants, of which it is very, very difficult for the new political entrants to then overcome the barricades that then would set them onto the stage of this political contest. Look at the people who would have provided an alternative, the likes of Akina Babu Owino. They are still having a lot of infighting, people fighting them from within the party structures. People who would have been very, very progressive leaders still have to bow to the powers that be, for example. So that is why Kenyans have been limited in terms of the scope of the options that they have. It has been reduced to a contest of, it is either Ruto or Kalonzo Musyoka, and the manner in which it is panning out, we are ultimately going to end up with two teams. So it is either the devil you know or the angel you also know.
Okay. Now, there's something that you've mentioned that is quite much interesting. You've talked about political new entrants. And this is something that has always been, especially when we when we are going for election or when we are electing, you find that in the parliament, you will get new faces in parliament, especially talk of the time of Jichopevu, talk of people, Jalango, we talk of, there was also the the former Starehe, Jaguar, these are youthful. And this one usually gives people hope that, okay, now things are going to change, because we've seen a new entrant, especially like young people who are going to advocate for the views or the challenges that the youth are facing. But how can they do that? Yet the political parties that they are going with are the same people that have not created that chance, that have been governing the government, have been having these political parties that are called with corruption, and that's have been mentioned, majority of them. How can these new entrants bring that change, yet they are going through those political parties?
I think that first there's some degree to which you must be complacent to the system, because if you try to play, you must work in tandem with the system. If you try to sleep beside it, it crushes you, and we have seen that one before. So it is actually, you have to decide whether you are going to stick to your principles and go into political oblivion, or you are going to be complacent and then get whatever you want. That is why it is very difficult to live up to your principles, and that is why you are seeing even these new entrants are trying to emulate or are trying to copy what has been there ever since, because they have learned that even the Kenyan voter is not as Russia's, and therefore for you to continue surviving, then you have to play or dance to the tunes of those who have been there before. So when you look at even in general, Ben, even having a political party is not an easy feat in Kenya. There's what we call that temporary registration that they give you. That alone is 100,000. They tell you, I don't know, you have to have how many offices in how many counties, for example. So at the end of this, you find that there are deliberate hurdles that have been put so that then you are not able to have new political formations. And even if you are to have these new political formations, it would be extremely expensive, extremely costly, and only managed individuals such as Kinagashago are the ones who can establish these political parties. That is why you are seeing the likes of Akinababu, even when they were coming into politics, they had to board the current political vehicles. Babu went in through ODM and he has been able to grow. And that is why there are certain people within ODM who feel that Babu has betrayed the party, that is not grateful for the opportunity. But look, we are all young people and we are ambitious. So it is going to be very difficult, Ben, but I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. And young people only need to remain focused and leverage on the numbers that we have. So the older generation has got the structures,
Yeah.
but the young people have got the tyranny of numbers. Now, because the older people have got the structures and the resources, they manage to successfully use the resources to keep us divided. You see, so you have a cocoon here that is in ODM, and look at what even the young people normally do in these political parties. Save for the mobilization that they do during political gatherings, there's nothing else because most of the other things are run by the party organ. So Kenyans have to come to a realization that it is their responsibility to build from scratch. And if you want change is as good as rest. Yeah.
But now, speaking of young people, because sometimes we tend to focus so much, especially on those who want to vie for those positions, but we are not focusing on even those who can offer renewed support. Because the talk of mobilization and everything, and look at what is happening. Especially, I want to bring you to speed. What happened in Kasipul Kabondo the other day, whereby there was violence, especially where 2 people lost their lives and there was casualty from both sides. And the majority of people who were involved in this, I don't think like they are old people. These are young people, at violence. And this is happening. And the same young people are still saying that we need change. How will that one happen if they're the same people who are meeting violence at their peers just for somebody? So how is that one going to happen really if we want to change?
On a lighter note, a child of a snake is a snake. But on a broader sense, I feel that young people have to hold themselves accountable. If we really want to see meaningful change in this country, then we have to hold ourselves accountable. One, if you look at the people vying in Kasipul, for example, these are people who have never served in any position as student leaders. So I think there's also the place of mentorship in all this. Before we allow people to contest in the national politics, it is also important that we interrogate their histories. You see, Ben, if I served as a student leader, then most probably at least there are some leadership qualities that I'm going to display.
Yeah.
But the challenge now is we are giving out positions simply because we are trying to sympathize. You see, that is not what we envision in the constitution and in the democratic principles of our country. That is a political right of the electorate to decide who they want to represent them. So that is where we get it wrong, first of all. Let us allow the people of Kasipul then to elect them people. But as they say, if you sleep with the 10 virgins and sleep with one he-goat, you are probably going to be remembered for sleeping with the he-goat more than you are remembered for sleeping with the virgin. So let us not castigate the young people because of the mistakes of a few. That is to suffer what we call the principle of hasty generalization, where you used a small portion as representative of the whole. I think that there are several other young people that can lead well in this country, only that they have not been given positions.
All right, thank you so much. And that one boils again to the young people, especially because when you see all these fights and the young people are losing their lives at a tender age just because of political affiliation, so it is that I think also they should start thinking independently and knowing very well
But
that political is not
but Ben, even before you finish, you have to ask yourself, why would somebody kill the other person in this thing? It shows you that politics has become cutthroat, and it shows you now what is at stake. These people are probably killing themselves because of the CDF. Because I know, for example, if I become a member of parliament, I'm going to manage 100 million plus. So I think two things: either we make politics less expensive, or we generally try to have stricter rules that are then going to ensure that politics attracts the right people. Because the question of Kasipul aside, we have also the upcoming 2027 elections. And I can
Yeah.
tell you constituencies where the people who want to contest there, most of them are been engaged in shoddy deals. These people are gold scammers. Some of them are involved in what we call wash. And these people now want to get into politics to protect the resources they have amassed in illegal ways.
And you know, the other time we had a conversation and with one of our panelists, and something that we came into conclusion is that the people, majority of people, or majority of these individuals who are vying for this position, they don't vie for this position because they've seen some shortcomings in the areas that they are vying for, but they are vying for this position for protection of what they are
Yeah.
doing wrong. And
Mm.
that's why you find it is not very easy, or it doesn't bother them if they don't even find a way of solving those challenges, provided that they are protected, that
True.
leadership protects them. And that's why they will use all kind of money just to make sure the tokenism is, the price tag is very high, knowing very well that after getting this I will be protected. And that's where sometimes,
Mm.
like, even the voters themselves should start asking themselves some questions and say, what are we looking for now? I know I will not keep you for long, and there's something that I want to discuss with you, and this is something that has always been in the political arena for quite some time, about the two-term and the two-term and one-term. um, when you look at the Constitution of Kenya, we have to agree that it allows for one term and two term. Because one, the Constitution of Kenya outlines that a president will rule for 10 years, but is not consecutive. You can go one term, you get
Yeah.
defeated, come in to complete your second term. And that's why when even 2027, president himself will have to go to IBC for him to be declared, not be declared, to clear to run. And what is the reality that we have, especially for now, the stakes are high. We are looking at Kalonzo Musyoka and President William Ruto and the Gen Z. What is the reality that is waiting all these three people at 2027? What are the realities? And these realities are, what are the driving factors that they should be considered for that two-term to be actualized or that one-term to be actualized?
You've put it quite well, and it is true that when you are elected as a president, your second term is not guaranteed. You can either serve for one term, seek election. In case you are successfully re-elected, then you serve your second term. And the general trend in Africa is that we have seen currently there's the rise of one-term presidency, because we are seeing people serving in the first term and then they are voted out. And we saw that one we saw it in Seychelles the other day. We saw it, I think, in this Zambia,
Yeah.
where Peter Mutharika was re-elected after serving he served one term. He was voted out. They voted in another person, and now they have voted him back. And in Kenya, it really, the possibility of a one term is also very, very high. And yeah, we also saw it in Ghana, I think. So this is the thing, Ben. We are seeing that when President Ruto was coming in, there was a lot of promises that he gave
Yeah.
back then, and yeah, he won in 2022. But what we are seeing currently is that the general feeling is that the president is very unpopular.
Yeah.
And even when you look at those trips he's making to Kambani, for example, there's a lot of optics involved, and the people around those rallies are mobilized, and then they take very strategic photos. But that cannot wipe out the reality. The reality is that the cost of living has really gone up. The reality is that we have a lot of taxation going on, and when people look at their pay slips, they are actually very worried. But then the other reality, Ben, is that when you look at the opposition that we have right now, you can't compare it to the opposition of Raila Amolo Odinga. Look at Kina Gachagua, look at Kina Kalonzo, and look at Matiang'i. Matiang'i must be the most uninspiring individual I've ever met in the political sphere. And when you look at, I think the only formidable person in that opposition is Rigiji. And the president was quite smart to then ensure that he was impeached, because then he can't now run. But the other members remaining in the opposition, look at Kina Wamalwa, look at Kina Maraga. They are not as charismatic as the president. They are not as charismatic as Raila Amolo Odinga. And these are people, if you if you invited them somewhere to speak to the Gen Zs, I don't think they would really convince a huge number, because the reality right now is that the Gen Zs have not decided where they are going to cast their vote. That is the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why you are even seeing that they are not registering as voters, because they have not decided. So the Gen Zs are just hovering around. And this is one thing that the government is really celebrating, because if you went to the streets because you are not doing well, yet you are not registering for voters, then the Gen Zs will now have no moral authority to then question this government. So really, to answer your question, I think that is quite over 50-50 right now, but I think the president edges the opposition with some degree. That is without considering the work that he has been able to do. Over and above, the president has really tried in terms of infrastructure.
Yeah.
He has really tried to copy the infrastructure project of Singapore. The challenge could be in terms of implementation. I don't know whether any of your friends have gotten access to the affordable houses, but that is not a question of today. But it is a very good project. And if it is done in the right manner, then it could really secure President Ruto's re-election. Now, the other worry is the Nyanza region. Now, in the absence of Baba, it is not quite sure. We are not quite sure whether the whole of Nyanza would vote for President Ruto, because then Luos were loyal to Raila Amolo Odinga. And it is only a matter of time before we confirm whether there's someone else to whom they could accord such degree of loyalty. In
All
the
right.
absence of that, President Ruto must really try to bring Kalonzo on his side. Without Kalonzo, then it is going to be a really difficult contest. And the deciding factor in this contest is going to be the Gen Zs, where they're going to cast their votes.
All right, and thank you for that. And there's something that you have spoken about, especially some countries that one time has become a reality,
Yeah.
and there are countries that Tutam also has become a reality. It depends. But now, when you look at those countries, what was the driving force? What was the motivating factor to the ballot box? And if those factors are considered in Kenya, yeah, what are they? Then secondly, there's also those factors that made some presidents, especially to go for their second term. There must be something that was driving them. So do you think as a Kenyan population, the Kenyan voters have really crystallized all those driving factors? Then I say, okay, if me have to vote out the Mr. President, what could be the reason for me to vote out Mr. President? So if I am to vote in the opposition, what is the main reason? And not of emotions, forget about, we are talking about facts, because there's politics and emotions that are being driven. Both the government, the president, and even the Gachagua and all the opposition, they're those that they can emotional driven. But now we talk about the facts, that I want to vote out the president. What is it that why I'm voting him out? I want to vote in the opposition. Who is coming? What is the reason? Or do you think we've reached that point?
We are miles away from that. We are so far away from the politics of ideology. And why I'm saying this, Ben, is because, as I said earlier on, even in my submission, that someone said the best form of democracy is to have an informed electorate. When you look at Kenyans, for example, do you know the percentage of Kenyans who are degree holders? Because I'm assuming now that having a degree is the bottom line in terms of the basic level of reasoning someone can have. It is less than 5%. So whereas we have a very small proportion of young people who are able to critically analyze positions, who are able to critically interrogate individuals and then make appropriate decisions, we have a very huge chunk of Kenyans for whom it does not matter your level of academic qualifications, for whom it does not matter your level of competence, for whom what matters is only your tribe, your name, your friends, and the amount of resources that you have. That is the kind of politics that Kenyans say. So having looked at all those case studies I gave earlier on, I can concretely tell you we are miles away from that. And the politics we are going to see in 2027, as I said it in my submission on Citizen TV, is that it is still going to be a personality contest where people are still, and I said this one even on that Raila Amolo Odinga is still going to be present in the 2027 ballot. Why? There are people who are going to vote solely by asking themselves, what would Baba want me to do if he were alive today? And it is also going to be influenced by the position that ODM is going to take. So there's somebody who is going to say, Now that Baba is not there, and because William Ruto gave Baba a befitting send-off, then automatically I'm going to vote for Baba. There are people who are going to say, because Baba is not here, and well, let me not say that one. The politics of 2027 is still going to be a personality contest. And we are seeing a lot of development. The other day we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta declaring Matiang'i their running mate. That will also matter so much because then uh, Fred Matiang'i then strengthens the opposition if they are to work together with Rigathi Gachagua. In the unlikely scenario that Gachagua runs, that Matiang'i runs concurrently to Kalonzo Musyoka, then President William Ruto gets a very easy ride, you see. So I don't think Kenyans have reached that level where, and this is not even for people in the villages. Even the Gen Zs in the institutions of higher learning, it is the same reasoning across board. And I think it is going to take us a longer time before then we can move to the politics of ideologies. And you know, the people that play the politics of ideologies, it was only ODM. There are others, these political parties which are smaller, but they are ideologically driven. Challenge is we have what we call the third vote syndrome, where once people have grouped into two major groups, I am unlikely to vote for any third force because I am afraid of losing my vote, because then I am able to interrogate and see that the chances of this third party winning the election are quite minimal, close to zero. And therefore voting for them would mean then that I'm wasting my vote.
Okay. Now, before we wind up, Mr. Tony, there's something also that I want you to weigh your thoughts on. We call it the politics of tokenism, and you mentioned him, and this is not only happening to the young people. It also happened to the leaders themselves, because we've had several times that this accusation that even members of parliament, there's that kind of like walking bahasha. You know, the other time it was a very huge issue. Today, I saw especially good MP from Langata. At least there was a million that was given for young people to go and attend the ODM at 20. So there's a lot of money circulation, especially in the politics. And this one always make people to have decisions, or make people make decision not independently, but based on the amount that you've been given, or based on what you've been offered. But at the end of the day, sometimes it costs people a lot. You know, do you think we can run away from that tokenism kind of politics, especially where money is so much involved, particularly in Kenyan politics?
It is a cyclic problem.
Yeah.
It is a problem of the electorate, and it is a problem of the leaders. The electorate have refused to elect people based on ideologies and based on ideas. So the leaders have also mastered this. And I don't blame the electorate as such, because they are also in very deplorable conditions. And because they are very desperate for survival. That is why they have to rely on the small handouts that is given by the politician. The only challenge now is differentiating that being given this money by the politician does not translate into good governance. And that is why we have this system where every 5 years, we have people coming, distributing maize flour and aleso, and then these people are elected by our mothers and by our sisters in the villages, thinking then that by giving us this, it is a demonstration of good leadership. So it is a cyclic problem in the sense that the electorate is in need of this money, and that is why he's able to take the little token that is available and to move, because it is about survival, really, Ben. But then the leader also has mastered this. So when I get into the position, I must steal as much as possible so that then I have float. Because where am I getting this money to give you? Where do you think that 1 million comes from? Because the salary of the president is 1.4 million. The salary of a member of parliament probably is 1 million shillings. So when I'm giving you 1 million, do you think, even you, Ben, do you think I would be willing to sacrifice 100% of my salary to give you? So that is the question Kenyans have refused to answer. It means then that there's
Mm,
somewhere else where I'm getting more than that. Because if I'm able
mm,
to give you 1,000,000 shillings, then probably what I'm making is
mm.
more than that. Even for you today, if you wanted to engage in politics, it is very difficult to distribute carelessly your hard-earned money.
Yeah.
So that is why the people we are seeing coming into politics are people who have amassed huge amounts of money in the public, in the civil, uh, as public servants, and then they are coming to use it to bribe you. So let the electorate tone down their appetite of politicians' money if they want good governance. The
Okay.
politician also let them minimize dishing out county resources, and then there's this thing then where people must know that it is their money.
Yeah.
This money they were given today is theirs.
It's their
Don't
money.
forget, the people you elect are custodians of that money, public money.
Mhm. All right, Tony. Thank you so much for creating time for us. I know you are still in school and ukawacha assignment ya mwalimu. Unajua juzi ndio walirudi juzi ndio walirudi, najua assignment zinawaua.
They are on our necks. Yeah? Assignment after assignment. You know, we have to recover the time that was lost.
How are you going to recover that time, by the way?
There are some adjustments that have been made on the academic calendar,
Yep.
and I know we are going to be rushed. We are also rushing in for examinations at the end of the semester, but I know we
Mm,
shall manage. This is not the first time. Remember,
mm.
even when we had COVID, you were also able to adjust and to recover the lost time.
Hiyo ni vizuri. Na
Yeah.
when are you planning to vie or you are waiting until you graduate?
This time round, I must graduate. I'm not. If I don't graduate, I'm not buying. Because I don't want to be, Ben, for me, the same thing for which I'm castigating leaders. I don't want to be the same one practicing them.
Yeah.
So I want to come in as a graduate and as
Mm,
somebody who has gone through the right form of education, so that then
mhm.
tomorrow you are also able to hold me to account. Only now that the common mwananchi really does not care.
You know what will happen? Right now we will be talking, right now we are talking as friends and we interview here. Immediately you get that post, I tell you.
Ah,
Urafiki
it is very
urafiki
unfair.
itaisha.
It is very unfair to judge me that way. Mm.
No, but what usually happens, especially when we come to podcasts like this.
Mm.
Our main aim is to make sure, because I tend to believe in this. That if a country thrives, whether it thrives under President William Ruto, whether it thrives under Kalonzo Musyoka, it's thriving.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter who is in the
indeed.
steering wheels, provided that it is running. And another thing also, that when we'll be electing, sometimes we concentrate too much on the presidency and leave this
Yeah.
other elective post. And this is where the problem is. Like the other day, I saw, I don't know which, a lady, she is a leader. I see Betty Maina. I saw how she congratulated the president for paying 2 million for the balance for Mama Koi. And you are in the legislature, you know. What do you say if you can call the president to offset a bill of 2 million? What about those who cannot access the president to do that? What are you leaving them with? You know,
Horrible.
so horrible. So that is what we don't want to see you, Tony, when you get that position and you're still
No,
calling
no, no.
president. No, we will
But I
not allow
always
you to do.
but I always believe that people normally don't change, Ben. You see, if I'm corrupt at university, I'll definitely just be corrupt in the position that you give me. So I think people normally just pretend, you see.
Yeah.
And for me, I normally look at it from the point of we are all going to leave all this wealth behind.
Mm-hmm.
Everything really is vanity. It doesn't matter how much wealth you are able to amass or accumulate. At the end of it, you are going to leave all of that behind. So why
Yeah.
don't we just strive to improve the lives of the others? Why don't we just try to let leadership be service to the people? Because we shall not be living forever. And sometimes I normally ask myself, if this is the manner in which politicians are stealing, yet we are mortal, what would then be the case if God had said that human beings were to be immortal, that we were not to die? I think then that people will be having bankers and bankers of money. So
It's, it,
ukiangalia from that angle, then you are able to like, yeah, it is always not that worth it. Plus,
and
if you get 2 million now, you'll be hunting 10 billion. If you get 10 billion now, you want 100 billion. Human beings can never be satisfied.
yeah, and to me, what I felt, I think like for the legislature, the lady who was thanking the president, he thought, or she thought, I mean, she thought she was doing a good, he was doing good for the president. But to me, from my own analysis, he did damage
Yeah.
the president, because
Yeah.
president has always been talking about the SHA and how SHA is working, and president has given the statistics. And
Yeah.
if you can come, let us be real. I'm talking, and that's how, like, those who are your critique, because like in politics, everybody will use your weakest point
Yeah.
to bring you down. And that one statement, that is something that somebody has picked. Even if the president will come and explain something about the SHA, somebody will say that a member of parliament can call you to offset. So is it you who's the insurance cover, or what the money Kenyans are paying? And that is reality. It's not like politics. So even some of these leaders, I think like president need to talk to them and to manage on how they do their messaging.
Hiyo ilikuwa on goal. I think hiyo nayo ilikuwa on goal. The lady thought she was doing good, but now, because if indeed SHA is working, then why do you have to call the president to offset that bill? So it just tells you, there's this book imeandikwa inaitwa Parliament of Olds. Parliament of Olds now will give you the perfect example of what happens in the Kenyan parliaments. Gone are the days when we used to have substantial debates in the floor of the house, when we used to have the likes of Akina Jakoyo, Akina Kenneth Marende, Akina Babu Namwamba. Nowadays, what we have are just
that when you look at the history of our country, especially the history of our country, this is the worst. The 13th parliament is the worst parliament that ever in the history of Kenya when it comes to the parliamentary democracy. This is the worst.
We shall restore the lost glory.
Thank you so much, my brother. Maybe your last remark before we wind up.
Thank you so much, Ben, for always giving us a platform, and so proud of the work that you are doing, not just on the social media space, but also beyond. I know there's a lot of work that you do not even post for us. And I think for me, that speaks to how we as human beings and even as leaders, we need to work that. So, as a leader, if you have to announce everything you are doing, then probably you are doing nothing. So also it is a challenge to me that if indeed you are working for the people, then you don't have to prove it and to announce it every now and again. So it's something that really a challenge to us, and I really pray that God continues expanding your territories wherever you are. Also to thank you for the opportunity to pray for long life. Tony Blair, me, what I would tell maybe to the Kenyans and to anybody who is watching is that Kenya is our responsibility. Let us nurture one another. Let us always see the good in people. Let's give people a chance, and let us be patient with one another. And life is short. So when you have a responsibility to represent people, please do it in the right manner, because not everybody gets the chance to serve people. As Tony, I will still be going for the same position I contested for in 2022, still calling for your support from wherever you are. I know in the fullness of time I shall announce and declare, but really to thank you, Ben, overall for the opportunity. Yeah, thank you so much, and may you have a blessed night.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Tony Blair, for your time and for everything that we've discussed here. I know if I find time again and you find time, I will always calling you so that we can have such conversation for the interest of the country, not for interest of any political party, for interest of the country, so that we can produce good leadership that is going to run our country. Political parties do not run the country. Political parties are the vehicles that giving people the leadership. But if you have good people in those political parties, then we will have a good country. Tony, once again, thank you so much. For those who are with us in the comment section, I want to take this opportunity also to thank you. That is Judith, Brenda, Gypsy Connor, and everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us. And I know tomorrow also we will have a conversation. May God bless you all. Thank you so much, Tony.
Asante.
All right.